Hello Year 12 and welcome to today's feedback session on motivation and engagement in theory. So this is part of section 6 of the course, which is decision making to improve HR performance. Following on from this topic, we're going to look at motivation engagement in practice. So whilst in this particular section we're looking at some theories around motivating employees, in the next section we will be looking at whether or not these theories work in practice and perhaps certain theories work better in certain types of context. So during this feedback session, you should have first of all submitted your work for this before actually watching the video, and then I will obviously be marking that between now and Thursday. What do we need to achieve at this point in the course? Well, we need to be able to explain the motivational theories of Taylor, Maslow and Hertzberg, and make sure that we understand that motivation is a willingness to work hard. To be able to apply these theories to data response questions, so that's just sort of showing understanding of the theories and linking it to the context, and then to be able to weigh up the usefulness of these motivational theories given the case study. So that particular objective requires higher order skills and links much more to motivation in theory, which is the next chapter. Right, okay, so first of all let's just remind ourselves of the key theorists that we need to know about. So we'll start off with Taylor. He believes in the economic man, sometimes referred to as the sort of mechanical man, and the idea is that Taylor suggests that to motivate employees you need to pay them a wage that first of all attracts them to the job, and then once in the job there needs to be a range of financial incentives to get the economic man, the worker, to work harder. So it's kind of carrot and stick stuff. You know, you dangle a carrot in front of the workers and they will chase that carrot and work harder and be more productive. So it's sort of Taylor's view on motivation sits quite well with hard HRM. But there's more to Taylor than just saying you've got to offer incentives to the workers and pay them a reasonable wage. He goes on to say that there should be time and motion studies undertaken, so observe how workers work and then see if they change the formula of what they're doing, they can actually do things faster. And if they can, you know, by using a different method, complete the job faster, then adopt that method in the production process. So he was very much about let's observe the employees, let's see how much time it takes them and the activities they're doing, and then let's trial new methods and until we come up with the most efficient way for the workers to be working. And in line with that, he was very much a fan of division of labour, so that's specialisation, workers being broken down into small groups so that they specialise and become experts in certain areas of production. He was also a big advocate of observing the most efficient employee and then learning why that employee is so efficient and then trying to get other employees to adopt those practices. And he also believed that equipment was key in the production of tasks, so he was strongly in favour of production becoming more capital intensive. So that's Taylor. Then we've got Maslow. He had his hierarchy of needs. So the idea with Maslow is that at the very most basic level, say for example an unskilled worker with very low income got a job, then that particular employee would not be motivated by things like you know, career path progression maps and you know, the enrichment of his or her job, or things like being part of a social club at the business. In that particular example, the employee is much more concerned with physical needs, and that means that only aspects of motivation that fit into physical needs would need to be offered for that particular employee to be motivated. And then as employees gain more income and more skill, and they give them more authority. They've got more senior positions. Slowly, they start to achieve or they the needs lower down the hierarchy are met, and they then need the next level and the next level and the next level. So when we get to sort of chief executive officers, managing directors, they need sort of self-actualization, the very top level of the hierarchy to be met in order for them to be motivated. So that's things like the opportunity to achieve self-actualization, fulfillment, reaching your potential, being opportunities to create projects and be innovative and have a lot of freedom and that kind of stuff. So Maslow was all about, it depends on the particular context as to which level of needs to be met for the employee to be motivated. Finally, we've got Hertzberg. So Hertzberg broke down, he actually said that there's two ways to look at motivation. There's motivation factors, and then there are hygiene factors. So he said right from the outset, we need to identify factors, things that can motivate employees. So things like being rewarded for good work, being recognised for achievement, being given interesting work, more responsibility, advancement opportunities. So Hertzberg said those sorts of things motivate workers, get them willing to work hard. But he also said there's another list of factors that aren't motivators, but what we call hygiene factors. And these hygiene factors can actually lead to job dissatisfaction. So if these factors aren't favourable, then it can mean that an employee will, it's not about being happy or willing to do something happily. Hygiene factors are more about whether or not the job will get done. And when the hygiene factors are not favourable, it may mean that a task will simply not get done. Nothing to do with motivation, it will not get done. So for example, if we talk about pay, if an employee is not offered sufficient pay, Hertzberg said pay has anything to do with motivation, but it can stop an employee from actually doing a task to an acceptable standard. Also, Hertzberg said other things like if a worker is over-supervised or even under-supervised, that can stop them from actually doing the job. Working conditions, if the working conditions are poor, there's not good PPE equipment, very appropriate given COVID-19, but PPE and the right equipment and the right work environment, working at the right temperatures and stuff like that, that can actually stop workers from doing tasks. So those are the theorists. You were then asked to do the sort of knowledge questions. So if you could have a look at this slide and this slide to go through the answers to those knowledge questions, green pen your work and upload it. And then I'm just going to go on quickly to talk about the case study. So the case study was about a bakery, and the girl was called Tanya. She was looking for some work to basically earn a bit of extra money so that she could go out on a Saturday night, and she got a job at the bakery, and she was quite drawn to the job because she saw the pay as being quite good. But the case study went on to say it was really a very unhealthy business, in the sense that the employees were not clocking in and clocking out on time. When a machine broke down, food fights were occurring and employees were cheering. The supervisors stroke managers, they were not respected by the employees, they held no authority, and there was a really unhealthy culture. The norms within the bakery were really bad. So you had a kind of you had lazy employees who didn't really care, and you had supervisors who didn't seem to care much themselves, and also adopted a kind of blame culture where they were looking to blame the employees for everything that was going wrong. So there was lots of issues going on in this particular business. So the first question said, analyse the working lives of a shift worker at the bakery using Hertzberg's two-factor theory. So in terms of hygiene factors, you can talk quite a lot about things like pay, and that seems to be quite good. So that's a hygiene factor that's going against job dissatisfaction. So actually promoting the employees actually doing the work. Remember, hygiene factor has nothing to do with motivation. It's about, you know, actually doing the work. So pay seems quite good. Working conditions really bad. So that would be a dissatisfier and actually stop jobs from being completed in a productive way. And poor working relationships, again, working against work being completed productively. Then you've got the motivators. So there's not much in the case study about sort of opportunity and rewards for achievement and stuff like that. There's not much in therefore it's quite hard to find any examples in the case study, but certainly the employees did seem to be motivated when it came to, you know, starting food fights and stuff like that, as strange as that may seem. So most of the answer to that will be looking at hygiene factors, but a bit on motivators. So if a managerial follower of Taylor's methods came into the factory, how much he or he tried to improve the production levels? Well, let's go back to what Taylor believes. Taylor believes that key to increasing productivity is conducting time and motion studies. So you could explain about how Taylor might come in and try to look at the best way of you know, producing the dough, looking at efficient workers and that kind of stuff. The person would also be looking at things like more financial incentives, because that's what Taylor's all about, the carrot and stick approach, and perhaps because Taylor goes very much hand in hand with hard HRM, a system of penalties put in place for those that throw dough or kind of cheer when machines break and stuff like that. So that was a shorter question, but certainly one or two of those bullet points detailed was needed. Finally, it goes on to say in question 3 that the bakery was eventually closed due to lower productivity. To what extent do you think it was due to the attitudes of the local workers? So, on the one hand, yes it was, because the local workers were messing about, they weren't clocking in on time, they were throwing dough around, so all of that is working against productivity. But then the counter argument to that, well, maybe the managers in the business have not really helped to address that, and therefore is it actually the local workers, or is it the actual managers and supervisors and the owners of the business? So there's one paragraph, and then perhaps a second paragraph might be about other reasons why the factory is not productive. For example, the bad culture that seems to have been built up over years. It seems normal to mess around and not do much. You can't really blame the local workers for that, because if that's the sort of environment that they step into, and it certainly was the environment that Tanya found herself in right from day one, that's not necessarily the workers' fault. So what I've done here is I've just put an exemplar to have a look at, and I will be marking that as well. So quite a short video today. Hope you're all well. Keep cracking on with your work. All bar one or two of you seem totally up to speed with things, so get that work done, and I will speak to you soon.